The Sermon on the Mount is arguably Jesus' most important collection of ethical teachings. It covers a lot of topics, including the topic of power, a topic that we've been looking at throughout a series of videos, mostly focusing in the book of Mark, but now we're moving on to the Sermon on the Mount. And I know what you're thinking. Rodrigo, why are we looking at the Sermon on the Mount? Well, let me explain. To really understand the importance of the Sermon on the Mount, we have to understand through cultural streams that existed at the time of Jesus. For one, by the time Jesus shows up, Rome has ruled over Israel for many hundreds of years, and in their culture, the king was not only the wielder of power, but he was also the one that set the morals and was an example of them. Jesus, the king of the coming kingdom of God, is also in the Sermon on the Mount, setting the morals for his kingdom and being an example of them. The second cultural stream that gives great significance to the Sermon on the Mount is, of course, the Hebrew Bible. And in the Hebrew Bible, mountains are of great significance. On mountains is where God's presence dwells. The Garden of Eden was supposed to be on a mountain, and mountains are also where people go to be tested. Like Abraham, who was told to kill his son Isaac up on a mountain, and on top of that mountain is also where his son is saved. Moses sees a burning bush on a mountain, and on a mountain he also receives the law. Jerusalem was supposed to be built on top of a mountain, and the very top of that mountain was supposed to be the temple itself. And moving on to the New Testament, talking about that temple, that is where the devil takes Jesus to be tempted, telling him to throw himself down, and Jesus responding to not put God to the test. In the Gospels, on a mountain is also where Jesus' true nature is revealed. And finally, of course, on a mount is where Jesus gives the Sermon on the Mount. Now, does this all give great significance to the Sermon on the Mount? Well, yes. Yes, it does. But not only that, also is what Jesus says about the Sermon on the Mount itself. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. We are looking at the Sermon on the Mount because in it, Jesus teaches us how to wield power in a way that allows us to arrive at this greater righteousness. Hint, hint, it has everything to do with inverting power.